viewers and learners of the Postgraduate Diploma in Environmental and Occupational Health. I introduce myself as Dr. Sushmitha Baskar, working in the discipline of Environmental Studies in the School of Interdisciplinary and Transdisciplinary Studies, Indira Gandhi National Open University. Today we will discuss in this session on environmental design. We will see the various forms of transport which is having a negative impact on our environment, on the human health. In the same way how aesthetically the buildings can be designed and so on. So all this will form a part of environmental design and also working towards sustainability. So these would be forming the learning objectives of this session. Currently, if you see, we are facing a number of the environmental issues. This can include the climate change, the air pollution, acid rain, global warming, greenhouse effect, the environmental degradation and the natural resource depletion. We can also see that all our ecosystems are getting polluted day by day. So these are some of the world's important and major environmental problems. Now, air pollution and climate change. Here we will see that there is an overloading of the atmosphere and the ocean with carbon. Burning of fossil fuels, deforestation activities, industrial activities, all these have pushed up the carbon dioxide levels from 280 to 400 ppm presently. So this is an unprecedented rise. So what is happening as a result of this? We have climate disruption, carbon overloading. This is only one form of the air pollution which is caused by burning coal, oil, gas or wood. The solutions could be to replace these fossil fuels that we are presently using with certain renewable forms of energy. You can go in for geothermal energy or the solar energy and so on. Reforestation activities. We can reduce the emissions from agriculture and also change our industrial processes, how they work. Now, some examples when giving about the cities that are plagued by the air pollution. For example, you have the Ulaanbaatar. This is in Mongolia. This is one of the coldest capitals on the earth and it is also a city which has massive air pollution. During the winter months, the yurts like the Segis, they are heated with the coal, the wood, and this will definitely contribute to 70% of the smog in those cities. So the air pollution by the WHO, it is considered 7 times higher than what is normal and considered safe. So in the nearly 10 million city of New Delhi, the number of cars have increased to 3.5 million in the last 30 years. So the city's coal powered plants, these are one of the causes for the same. All this is contributing to around 80% of the total air pollution in the city. Deforestation is another problem. Species rich wild forest, they are being destroyed, especially if you see in the tropical regions. Why? For the palm oil cultivations, the soya bean plantations, for cattle ranching and for the agriculture monocultures. Now almost 7.3 million hectares of the forest, they are destroyed every year, mostly in the tropical regions. So once upon a time, the tropical forest, they used to cover about 15% of the land area, but now this is down to about 6 to 7%. Much of this has been degraded by the logging and also the burning activities. The natural forest, they actually act as the biodiversity reserves, the carbon sinks, they keep the carbon out of the atmosphere and also the oceans. Some of the solutions that we could take up would be to conserve such biodiversity reserves, replanting with the native tree species, and we also need strong governance and the species extinction. Wild animals, if you see, they are being hunted to extinction for their medicinal products. If you see in some of the Tibetan medicines, they are using these products or what is obtained from the wild animals. Then the ivory from the elephants, they are used in the jewelry and so on. So they are also used for their bushmeat, and the industrial fishing boats, they are cleaning out the entire fish populations in the in some of the coastal regions. The loss and the destruction of the habitats, these are the major factors which are contributing to a wave of extinction. The American black bear, if you see in this figure, this is 1 in 22,000 species and it is threatened with extinction. The solutions would be biodiversity conservation, restoring the habitats, protecting against poaching and wildlife trade. The soil degradation. Some of the problems include overgrazing, monoculture planting, erosion, soil compaction, overexposure to the pollutants, land use conversion. So every year if you see 12 million hectares of the farmland, they get seriously degraded. So soil conservation and restoration techniques and the zero-till farming, crop rotation and water retention through the terrace buildings, these could be some solutions that could be taken up. Overpopulation. The human populations are continuously growing and at a rapid rate. So these are putting a lot of pressure, stress with growing affluence on the essential natural resources like water. And if you see, this is even more in the African and in the Asian countries. 5 sustainable countries, if we take up an example, which are making a difference for the planet. Copenhagen in Denmark, it is ranked as one of the greenest cities on the planet. San Francisco in California, Vancouver in Canada, Stockholm in Sweden, Singapore and Norway. So these are some of the countries which are now sustainable cities. So the key features of a sustainable city include that the resources are accessible to everyone, the public transport is seen as a viable alternative to cars, public transport is safe and reliable, walking and cycling is also considered safe. Then we also ensure that the areas of the open space are safe, accessible and enjoyable. We can protect the environment, improving the human health, well-being and conserving the valuable resources like the water and also energy. The UN Sustainable City Program, they defined it as one that is able to retain the supply of natural resources while achieving economic, physical and social progress and remain safe against environmental risk that could undermine development. Cities can become greener by reducing the amount of energy and the resources used by improving the efficiency of the various systems. For example, in the transport, as I told you, we can go in for the green transport. We can change the behavior of the citizens by reusing and recycling the waste and energy. Even from the we have the conversion from the waste to energy plants. Again, the materials could be reused and used. We can also obtain the energy from the cleaner sources. Copenhagen, when you take as an example, it is ranked as one of the greenest cities, and in 2009 the city took up a goal to become the world's first carbon neutral capital by 2025 as part of its 2025 climate plan. So this plan was based on the 4 pillars, mainly energy consumption, energy production, mobility and the city administration initiatives. The targets are critical to the overall objective of carbon neutrality, and the city has a dual responsibility to mitigate the effects of climate change and to show that it is feasible to combine growth, development and an enhanced quality of life with lesser carbon dioxide emissions. And now if we see the city, they have eliminated over a third of all the transportation fossil fuels, and they have eliminated 90,000 tons of the greenhouse gases per year. It has cut down the carbon emissions and it provides a better air quality for the citizens. Again, we have the Copenhagen over there, which turns the waste into energy, and that can supply the energy for thousands of homes and businesses. So 30 years of focused energy policy has placed Denmark now at the forefront in development, and the use of renewable energy such as biofuels, wind power, the wave power and also the solar power. A smart city. This is a developed urban area that creates sustainable economic development and high quality of life by excelling in multiple key areas, mainly economy, mobility, environment, people, living and the government. Now in India also we came up with the Smart Cities Mission India, and the Government of India launched this on 25th of June 2015. Which promotes the sustainable, inclusive cities, and that provides core infrastructure, and it gives a decent quality of life to its citizens, a clean and sustainable environment with the application of smart solutions. So we are also now heading towards this, and it is an urban renewal and retrofitting program by the government with the mission to develop smart cities across the country and by making the people eco-friendly and also sustainable. Green transport. Any form of transport which does not take up or consume all your natural resources that way, and which is relying on the renewable energy, which reduces the emissions and which has a low negative effect on the environment. which is making use of sustainable energy sources, for example, walking, cycling and sailing. All these are forms of the green transport. Now, biofuels is another green transport or the fuel that is used in the green transport systems. This is produced from the organic matter. We have bioethanol, which is got by fermenting the plant material. We have biodiesel, which is got from the vegetable oils and the animal fats, and this definitely will reduce the carbon exhaust emissions up to 80%. Coming on to green buildings. When we talk about environmental design, the green buildings also are an important topic. So these are zero emission buildings which are integrating the renewable energy sources, and the energy consumption is self-generating and non-polluting. So that means you are getting them by placing certain solar panels on your roofs, or you can also have the other forms of the energy like tidal energy or the hydro power and so on. Now, the green building rating system, here the individual houses also can be rated based on their environmental sustainability, and if you see, people are constructing their homes in eco-friendly and a citizen friendly attitude and behavior, and they are being given certain awards by the IGBC council, and they can hang it in their homes. So these are all certain motivation that even the government of India and world over they are providing. Now this figure, if you see, these are green buildings literally, okay, they are biophilic designs and they are incorporating several elements of nature. So here you can, it looks aesthetically pleasing to your eyes and people are able to perform better. You feel good, you feel better. So if you see, these are all the terraced balconies and the buildings, and every level has those trees and lawns, and you can even have 800 and more of these trees planted. And here again they use the special non-percolating material so that the building does not get wet in the process when you water those plants. So there is a technology behind this. The green building certifications, we have two certifications that are given in India. The LEED India, which is the Leadership for Environment Energy Design India, and the other is the Indian Green Building Council ratings, which is given for the individual homes, for the factory buildings and also green townships. And all this is administered by the IGBC Council based in Hyderabad. Griha is another one which is, we can say that as a green rating for integrated habitat assessment. Green infrastructure. Therefore, integration of green space along with these green buildings which is surrounding it, that also gives the perceiver, the person who is living, it will give him a lot of mental peace. So green space creation and management, this itself is a specific discipline and topic which can be detailed, and they are integrated with more traditional land development and built-in infrastructure planning. Now when I was talking about the green buildings, in ancient days, we also had these roof tilings and the roofs, that had the special tiles, especially we find this in South India, and you have them with certain glass panels in between. So during the daytime there is no need of you that you have to use your tube lights or lights because you will have sufficient of the solar light which is getting into the buildings. In the same way, there could be a central porch where the people get together for the family occasions, and there would be a tulsi puja or a tulsi place where people come around, and there you see that it is open. So there you have enough sunlight also coming inside your houses, and you also have the rainwater which is coming there. So these are all, so in olden days if you see, they were in harmony with balance with nature. They are eco-friendly structures which have been built. In the same way, if you talk about the green and environmental design, this dates to 500 BC from the Greek architecture from Greece. So there the Greek architecture, there the buildings are constructed in such a way. Now even in India, if you go to Connaught Place, you can see those big pillars that are used. So they are constructed at an angle where you have sufficient sunlight which is entering the buildings and also sufficient air flow which is getting into those buildings. So these are all incorporating elements of nature while designing and planning and development. This infrastructure is very important. Now these are some examples of the green infrastructure where you have rain gardens, you have the green roofs, you have permeable pavements, you have infiltration trenches, landscape water body and grass seed swale. Now even in your porches, even in your balconies, or I am talking about those which are in the ground floor. You can have the special roofing materials, the pavement tiles, which in between there could be space, and so both it could be pervious, impervious, where that there could be the flow of water also which is going into the ground, there could be groundwater recharge also happening at the same time. So it depends on the type of the pavement tiles that you are purchasing and how they are being placed and on how they are being constructed. In the same way, you can have rainwater harvesting when you are constructing your houses. So this rainwater can be harnessed, and you can store that water and you can use it for various purposes. And also, when you are considering and talking about environmental design, your own water from your kitchen, from the washing machines, from the dishwaters, all these waters can be diverted to your garden for the horticulture purposes, and the water can be reused and recirculated even for washing your garages, washing your car. Why do you have to use fresh water for the same? Okay, so these are some ways where by designing your building aesthetically and by reusing these waste water, you can do much more. These are examples of green roofing. Here again we find many of the people now who are adopting for the green terraces and green roofing, where they are also cultivating their fruits and vegetables on their top floor terraces and their balconies. Okay, so here again they use the proper non-percolating material which is above the concrete slab, and then again one more layer of another engineering solutions and the material that is being used, and then they have the minerals that are provided to the plants, and then they have the top organic layer where you are planting these trees and the plants. So here you can actually reduce the amount of heat that is actually entering your homes, and the entire home is cool and it is pleasing to your eye. So you can actually go over there, have a sip a cup of coffee, you can do meditation, you can do yoga, you can exercise, you have your own green space. So this involves nothing but just a little bit of innovation, creative thinking, a little bit of designing, the amount of things that is going on into designing a building. In the same way, all the rooms in the houses, they should have a 60:40 wall window ratio. So the amount of air entering, the ventilation that is required in every room in the house, the amount of sunlight that is getting into the house, all this can actually reduce the amount of the energy consumption, the amount of cool air which is entering the building. And here again, when you have these plantations, in your balcony or your green roofs, the amount of, definitely the 2 to 3 degrees of the temperature also will be reduced inside your home. So you will remain cooler. So what are the benefits of these green spaces? Definitely you will have an increased life expectancy, reduced health inequality, psychological health and mental well-being is important. Here in this figure, you can see how people together in a community area, it could be in a park, each one of them is contributing. Maybe they are planting certain trees, they are planting saplings, they are collecting the trash, managing their waste effectively, recycling the waste. So then they are able to do their exercises, yoga, they are able to interact. So that green space, when everybody contributes a little bit, then for the entire community, for the entire society, we are doing wonders. So the conclusion and the summarization of this session would be that sustainable development is not possible without public participation, without my or your participation. There could be enormous pressure from the population growth, population explosion, and unsustainable use of the resources and pollution. But greening the environment along with traditional knowledge, I gave you some examples of how the houses were constructed before, how we were before, and now the modern technologies which would be applied by constructing green roofing, the materials that are going in the construction of the houses, all this, when you incorporate both this traditional knowledge and the modern technological and engineering solutions, then we can come up with wonders. I hope you have had a good understanding of the same. Thank you for your patient listening.